Aloha! So this is how our day started, guys. We caught the first flight out of Honolulu on Hawaiian Airlines, which was at 5:15 a.m. And that may or may not be the reason why this flight was pretty empty, as you can see. It was a really quick flight, and before we knew it, we landed in Kahului. And when I say quick, I mean quick, as in like less than 30 minutes in the air. Here we have the tram that takes you from the airport to the rental car facility. For those of you who have never been to Maui, this is what the airport looks like. As you can see, it's not very big at all. And if you choose not to ride the tram, according to this sign, it will take you about 8 minutes to walk to the rental car center. So we waited for a few minutes and the tram arrived, and it looked very cool, as you can see. Very vintage. It was made to look like trains from old Hawaii during the plantation days. After a very short ride, we arrived at the car rental center. This is what it looks like. It was very convenient with all of the car rental companies all in one location. After picking up our rental car, it was now time for breakfast. So we headed towards Wailuku to try out a restaurant that is really popular amongst the locals. And I read that this restaurant first opened in 1933, and they are known for their dry min. I'm sure some of you were saying this name out loud already, and yes, you are right. It is Sam Sato's. Here is a look at their menu. It's a small restaurant. They don't have a lot of tables, and while we were there, they were packed. There was a line outside. So this is a really popular place, and everything was really good. The chow fun was really tasty. I did order the dry min, which was also very flavorful, and the pancakes were so good. One of the best pancakes I've ever had. Our next stop on the list was Stillwell's Bakery and Cafe, also located in Wailuku and just a few minutes from Sam Sato's. It has been open since 1994 and was awarded Best Bakery on Maui by Maui News. And this place is also popular with the locals. So guys, if you want to know where the best places are to eat, you have to find out where the locals go. And a great way to find out that information is by watching YouTube videos. All of their pastries look so good. They also are known for their sandwiches and salads, but because we had just gotten done eating, we didn't order anything off of their menu. We did decide to try out a few of their pastry items though. So we tried the Cocoa Puff, which is like a cream puff, except it has a chocolate filling with chantilly on top. Also a savory kind of flatbread and a creme brulee. And everything was really good. Our next stop on the list was Homemade Bakery, which was also located in Wailuku. We were on the hunt for manju, which is a traditional Japanese confection, and it is usually filled with a sweet bean paste, but nowadays you can find them in many different flavors. According to their website, they have apple, black bean, coconut, sweet potato. They also offer seasonal flavors such as peanut butter, peach, and lima bean. And it says that they bake their manju fresh every day. So after we had left Homemade Bakery, we were on our way to Haiku to visit a nursery. But this is just one area that I wanted to show you guys where I saw a lot of rental cars that were just sitting dormant, collecting dust, and it was a very sad sight to see. On our way to the nursery, we got to see horses and cows. Haiku is located in northern Maui, which is known to be more of a tropical jungle type setting with a little cooler temperatures. Everything was really green and lush, as you can see. It was definitely a beautiful drive, and it took us about 30 minutes from Kahului. Before we knew it, we arrived at Aloha Botanicals Maui, and take a look at this beautiful Hoya. I know some of you that follow my channel collect Hoyas, and what do you guys think of this one? It is gorgeous. I was told by the owner that they have been growing that Hoya for 15 years. So even though this isn't an orchid nursery, they do sell orchids, as you can see. And my channel is called Orchids in Paradise, so of course I wanted to show you guys some kind of orchids. There are a couple of orchid nurseries here on Maui, but unfortunately they aren't open to the public. They didn't really have many orchids in bloom on this day for me to show you guys, but I was told by the owner that they will be having different types of orchids available shortly. So if you guys are looking for something in particular, definitely give them a call or reach out to them through email, because you never know, they might just have what you guys are looking for. And the good thing is they are a certified nursery, so they do ship to all 50 states. And for those of you who live on Maui or are planning on visiting Maui, definitely pay this nursery a visit. They not only sell orchids, but they also carry a large variety of other types of plants as well. We spent about an hour at the nursery, and I ended up purchasing a few honohonos, so we were back on the road once again. But this time we had to head back to the airport. Unfortunately, the tire pressure warning light had come on. I did attempt to put air in the tire, but that was unsuccessful. And I was told afterwards that it could have been a faulty sensor. So we had to drive all the way back to the car rental facility to swap out cars, which did take time out of our day. After swapping out our rental car, we were back on the road once again, and since we were back in Kahului, we decided to stop at Maui's Specialty Chocolates, a family-run shop offering a variety of handcrafted chocolates. After that, we were off to Tasaka Goody Goody, another family-run business that spans 4 generations. By this time, it was already 12:30, but I still wanted to make a quick stop at a nearby swap meet, even though they closed at 1 o'clock. Because I had heard that one of the orchid nurseries that's usually closed to the public is a vendor there. Unfortunately, by the time we got inside, a lot of the vendors were already packing up to leave, and the orchid vendor was nowhere to be found. So we did miss them on this trip, but there were still a lot of interesting things to see.
It's really beautiful.
We were back on the road once again, trying to decide on where we should go to next, when we came across this sign that shows just how much the Maui community supports the residents of Lahaina. We made a very last-minute decision to drive to Hana because I really wanted to see a black sand beach. For those of you who are not familiar with Hana Highway, It is a very beautiful 2-hour one-way drive filled with twists and turns. A drive that I had never done before, obviously, so I had no idea what to expect, but it was so worth it in the end. And this is why I drove 2 hours one way. Welcome to Wai'anapanapa State Park. Luckily, we are residents of Hawaii, so we didn't need reservations, but if you are a visitor, you have to have reservations ahead of time. And just take a look at this view, guys. It was so breathtaking. The view from above was absolutely amazing. We did need to walk down some stairs in order to get to the beach, and right away I noticed that some people had been going into this little cave, which I did think about going into until I noticed that you had to duck down. And after driving 2 hours, I just didn't feel like doing that. As you can see, this beach isn't very big at all, but it is so beautiful. It was definitely worth the drive. I had never seen black sand before, so I was just amazed. One thing I need to tell you guys though, when you're leaving, when you're walking back up the stairs, there is a sign that tells you not to take the sand or the rocks with you, and that a lot of people had done so in the past and ended up sending these things back because they had noticed that they were now suffering a string of bad luck. You can believe it or not, but for me, I definitely didn't want to risk it. So I made sure that I scraped my sandals really well and that I washed my feet and that I brought nothing back with me. And this doesn't apply just to Maui, guys. It applies to anywhere you go to in Hawaii. Do not take the rocks or the sand home with you. I would rather be safe than sorry. So remember how I mentioned earlier that it was a 2-hour one-way drive into Hana? Well, of course, that now means that I have to drive 2 hours back. And because we had gone later in the day, I was definitely concerned about it getting dark. That is not the kind of road that you want to be driving on in the dark. It is full of twists and turns. There are no street lights. And that is not the kind of situation that I want to be in, especially on a road that I'm not familiar with. So instead of driving all the way into Hana town, which we did want to do, I made the decision to drive back, which I do regret now because at the time I didn't know that it was only 12 minutes away. And we did have enough time where we could have experienced the town for a little while and made it back in plenty of enough time before it had gotten dark. So I do regret that decision, and it definitely motivates me to want to go back. This portion of the video was taken during our drive back, and it just shows you some of the twists and turns that I was describing to you earlier. What I failed to mention earlier was that some of these turns are so sharp that you can't see what's coming at you until they are right there in front of you. So it is a little bit of a dangerous drive. It's not a drive that I would recommend for newer drivers. Also, if you or someone in your car suffers from motion sickness, you might want to think twice because it is pretty much this way the entire 2 hours, full of twists and turns, and there are not very many places for you to turn around. Some of the other things that I didn't mention earlier was that there are areas in the road that are really narrow that can barely fit 2 cars. Also, there are a lot of one-lane bridges, meaning that either you or the car that is coming towards you will have to yield. So there was never any doubt that Krispy Kreme Donuts was going to be our last stop before heading back to the airport. It's the only one in the entire state. You just can't go to Maui and not buy Krispy Kreme donuts, especially for me anyway, because it is my absolute favorite. They have a lot of flavors to choose from, but my go-to is always original glaze. I ended up taking home 2 dozen, 1 dozen original and 1 dozen assorted. So right after we got our donuts, we had to head straight to the airport to return our rental car and check in for our flight. And here is one more look at those rental cars that I showed you guys earlier that are just sitting and collecting dust right next to the airport. All right, everyone, I hope you all enjoyed seeing pretty much everything that we did while we were on Maui. We did make one stop that I didn't get on video, which was to a grocery store called Tamura's, because we had just gone in there to buy ice, but we noticed that they were selling Maui Strong t-shirts, so we ended up buying some of those, and I do believe they have those for sale online, and if I can find that information, I'll include it in the description box. And I do believe the proceeds from those t-shirts go to the victims of the fire. And that is the main reason why I wanted to go to Maui to begin with, is because I wanted to support the local community. As you guys seen with all of those rental cars, tourists just stopped coming. But a large portion of the Maui population work in the tourism industry. So people who were unaffected by the fires physically were now being affected by it financially. So there is definitely a lot going on right now, and because of that, it just didn't feel appropriate to ask questions regarding such a sensitive subject. So the only perspective that I can give you guys right now is my own. And if you are wondering if you should go to Maui on a vacation, I would have to say yes. Everywhere we went, everyone was in good spirits. They were very friendly. They were very welcoming. Had I not known what had happened, I never would have guessed that anything had happened on that island. But one thing that needs to be kept into consideration is the fact that we were nowhere near West Maui. So I cannot give you advice on visiting West Maui now that it is reopened, because it took me time to finish all of my voiceovers, all of my editing. As of today, October 8th, a portion of West Maui is now open. What I can tell you is that I have seen quite a bit of videos on YouTube and other platforms of Lahaina residents opposing this reopening date. They are saying that they are not ready, that it's too soon, and you can't blame them. A lot of them are still struggling. They don't even know where they're going to live in the near future. So if you decide that you still want to go there, just make sure that you go there with compassion and respect and an understanding of what people had gone through and are still going through. For those of you who watched my chat video regarding the Lahaina fire, you guys already probably have a feeling of where I stand when it comes to this situation. For the record, I don't believe it was a wildfire. There were too many things that had happened in order for this to be the mass devastation that it turned out to be. And you can only have so many coincidences before it's mathematically impossible for all of them to be a coincidence. For one thing, our entire state was already under a red flag alert, and I believe that started August 7th, and it was still in effect during the fire. And everything that I have been hearing about Lahaina is that they are not new to having fires. This is something that they've been dealing with for years. So wouldn't you think that the fact that everybody knows this and we were under this red flag alert, that people who are responsible for public safety would be in place and ready to take action? Yet coincidentally, these people just so happen to be off island. How convenient, right? There were hydrants without water, a state-of-the-art emergency warning system that was never sounded. There was no evacuation, no communication, no cell service, no internet. You had police allowing people to enter the town when it was already on fire, yet not allowing anyone to exit. All of these things contributed to this turning out to be the deadliest fire in U.S. history in over 100 years. Were all of these things just an unfortunate coincidence or possibly something more? So I am going to end this video with that. I hope that you guys continue to follow this story and do not allow it to fade away. because there is definitely more to this than meets the eye. Until next time, everyone, remember to always live aloha.